Our story starts today in the spring of 1900 when Captain Demetrios Kantos and a crew of sponge divers from Simi Island in Greece discovered the Antikythera shipwreck and recovered artifacts during the first expedition of the Hellenic Royal Navy. Now, the Hellenic Royal Navy existed during periods of monarchy in Greek history. Nowadays, because Greece doesn't operate under a monarchy, it's just known as the Hellenic Navy. Now, something that I never considered before about shipwrecks is the fact that when you discover a shipwreck, you don't just automatically recover everything from the shipwreck in like a week. It takes a long time. You have to consider the structural integrity of the shipwreck itself. A lot of times you don't know how long it's been underwater for immediately. You don't know where or what it's made out of because you don't know what time period it came from. You're not 100% sure on what elements of the ship may be dangerous, and you don't want to put people down there to start recovering artifacts and find out this shipwreck is very unstable and very unsafe. So it ends up taking a long time. And I also really never thought about it, but a lot of times these shipwrecks get discovered, and then for years later, they're repeatedly explored by scientists and explorers and people who are, for whatever reason, they are interested in the shipwreck. There's a lot of different reasons, a lot of different groups of people could be interested in a shipwreck, but either way, it's not something that necessarily is a quick process to explore a shipwreck, and so it's interesting because in this particular instance, the shipwreck was discovered in 1900, but it wasn't until 1901 that the namesake for this episode was recovered from the wreckage. You see, I recently learned about the Antikythera mechanism, and that was one of the artifacts. Look at that. Mispronounce things every now and then, right? Look at that. Been a long week. Anyway, it's one of the artifacts that was recovered from that shipwreck in 1901. And so a full year later is when they actually ended up finding the Antikythera mechanism, which I just think is an interesting fact. But like I said, every time that I learned something for this episode, it led to more questions. And I think you're probably going to end up in that same boat as we go through this episode, no pun intended. And I think you really will leave with a lot of questions, and I think that's kind of cool. So in this episode, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to go ahead and answer three of the questions that I had that I think are more broad, general questions. And those will help explain the Antikythera mechanism as best I can.